Hello viewers, welcome to the channel. Today I want to show you what I did to fix my car's GPS that no longer locks onto satellites. What I have is an Eclipse AVN 726EA and it came with my 2012 Nissan X-Trail. While the car and sat-nav are quite old, I have seen some posts about 3 years ago with the same issue, same model and slightly newer. So I thought I'd share it in case anyone is interested. Now today I'm just going to be showing you an overview of what I did. The how, I guess the details is technical. It involves coding changes to the sat-nav software. So I'll be doing another video for that. It just depends on how much interest there is. So if you are interested, please let me know in the comments below. Just so we're on the same page, I'll show you what the issue is. So I've been on this map screen since the beginning of this recording, which is about a minute so far, and it hasn't recentered to my location. I'm not at the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Also, the time hasn't changed, and this icon down here, the satellite icon, there's no bars, so it's got no signal. Sometimes it can take a few minutes for it to lock on. But what we can do is if you press on the icon here, it'll take you to the quick menu. And then from here, you can press GPS to take you to this GPS data screen. And this gives you an overview of what's happening with the satellites. Now, usually you should get activity here. You should see some bars just like that one that appeared, but there should be quite a few of them. They represent the satellites that it's trying to lock onto. And then after a while, you should see green, amber and red dots appearing here, representing the satellites, green being the strongest signal and red being the weakest. Once you have enough satellites locked in, you should get the latitude and longitude appearing here. But as you can see in my case, it's not locking onto anything, and it just tries and it keeps on losing it. There should be at least 4 or 5, just depending on the area you're in. Another indicator is this icon down the bottom here, the satellite one. You can see a grey bar, and that suggests that the GPS antenna is not connected. However, if I go to the settings, this suggests that it is connected, and I can disable it. It's not found, and then re-enable it again, and it suggests that it is connected. So obviously there's an issue there. So as I was digging around, I noticed that if I can restart the sat-nav software, then the GPS will start working again, albeit for a day or two. It just depends on how often I use the car. Now, turning the car off and back on doesn't restart the system. It just goes to sleep and then wakes, just like your phone would. The other ways you can restart the software is to A, disconnect and reconnect the battery, B, reset the unit with a paperclip, and C is to run the map update software, and that's called Sync Tool. You download that from Eclipse website, put on an SD card, and when you exit that, it restarts the software. Now, the first two options are just not practical. You don't want to disconnect the battery or reset with a paperclip every time you want to use a GPS. With a sync tool, well, you put the SD card in the unit, you go to the main settings, then about, and then there's an update button, and all you need to do is just launch the sync tool and then exit. You don't even have to run an update. And once it exits, it restarts the software, and then GPS works again just for a day or so. Now, that would be a viable option. However, the issue with it is that you need to remove the SD card, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But what would happen is you put the SD card in, you go to main settings, about, update, launch the tool, remove the SD card, exit, and it restarts, and so on. The problem with it, of course, is inserting and removing the SD card every time you want to use a GPS. Not only it's extra steps, but you don't want to damage the slot by doing that regularly. Now, the reason you need to remove the SD card is if you don't, it will, after restarting, it will launch back into the sync tool. And while that's a bit annoying, it is a fail-safe in case you brick the system when you do a map update. Or in my case, when you change the code and you mess it up, then you can't get back into the navigation software, so you can't launch the update to put a working version back on there. If you did do that, you could put a backup or a working version on the SD card, then insert the SD card and reset the unit with a paperclip, and it will automatically launch the sync tool, and you can then copy back a working version. So it got me thinking, well, if the sync tool can restart the software, there must be a function that I can trigger somehow that will do the same thing. And so what I did is I backed up the software using the sync tool. It not only has a ability to copy over updated maps, but it can also back up what's on there onto your SD card. And it copies the maps, it has some config files, and also some code for the user interface. So I looked through the user interface code, and even though I don't know the programming language itself, I have been a developer for about 30 years, so I was able to read it and make sense of most of what was going on there. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything that would restart the unit or even just reset the GPS. So I was about to give up, and then I thought, well, how about I look inside the main executable? And I opened it in a text editor, and while you can't read the code because it's compiled, it does expose function names. So I searched for some keywords such as launch, start, reset, cycle, GPS, things like that. And I found some functions that sounded promising. And then I added this button here called Reset GPS. You could call it whatever you like. And behind that, I trigger each one of those functions one at a time. It was just trial and error until I found one that actually did the job. So some of them did nothing, or nothing visible anyway. A couple of them restarted the unit but didn't fix the GPS. But then one that's called Sync Start, that restarted the unit and then GPS worked. But again, for a day or two. But it's better than nothing. So now I'm going to show you how it works. So all you got to do, you press this, yes to the prompt, and it's going to restart the unit. And here we go, it's initializing. We're just waiting, and here we are back at the main screen. And I added the reset button here as well for convenience, and also the update. Since I was troubleshooting, and it was much easier to run the update from here than having to go to these settings, about, and then update. So now we'll go to the map screen where it should start to lock on to the satellites. Okay, so it still hasn't locked on yet, but we're going to go into the GPS data screen so we can see what's going on. And as you can see, there's a few more satellites here that it's locking onto, and we also have the dots here. So hopefully pretty soon we should get the latitude and longitude. You can also see down the bottom here that it's blinking. There's 3 bars that are blinking, and that's a good sign. And here you go, it's trying to connect. I think it needs about 4, which we have quite a few now. We got 4 here, and very shortly we should get the latitude and longitude. So as you can see, it's already doing a lot more than it was doing before. Sometimes it can take a little while, just depending on the time of day and also where you are located. There you go. We now have our latitude and longitude. So if we go back to the map screen, and it's taken us to my location, which for privacy reasons I've blurred out. But as you can see, we now have a lot more bars here, so we should be good to go. Now just one thing before I finish off. The default behavior of this button is a short press takes you to that quick menu, and then you need to press the GPS button again. For convenience, I modified the code so a short press just takes me directly to this screen. But once you've done the reset here, you don't really need to come back here because it will eventually lock in. You only need to come here when your GPS isn't working. And as I said, I've added this button to the main menu as well, so I can also launch it from there. I should probably add it to the map screen itself, but it'll probably have to be a small icon of some sort rather than a bigger button. Well, there you have it. As I mentioned, if you'd like to see the coding changes that I made, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you found this useful, please hit the like button, and we'll see you on the next video.